Every month there are a ton of new mobile games that come out, and every month Game Ranks puts together the best ones, and today on Game ranks the 10 best iOS and Android games of February 2021. Number 1 is Astracraft, a sandbox combat game in which you build and go nuts. What do you build? Well, specifically you can build like cars to race, you can build ships to fly around in, and most importantly you can build battle mechs. It is literally about building, upgrading, assembling and just going nuts. It is a nut scam. It's sandbox stuff, which means you can do whatever you want, really. Like when I was a kid, this is the game that you could have made. For me, this is exactly what I want in a game, and it executes it really well. Truthfully, I had so much fun with this, and I think you just need to try it. It's called Astracraft. It is out now on both iOS and Android. Now play it. You will not regret it. I love this game. Number 2 is Forsaken World Gods and Demons. Now this is a fantasy RPG that I think you'll find familiar if you're interested in an open-world action RPG. It is not particularly outside the realm of expectation in terms of that, however I'd call it a pretty darn good example of it. There's a lot of variance in terms of enemies, in terms of environments, and I would say that it's a lot more colorful than any of its branding implies. Again, you will be traveling around to areas that look very different. It's not just like a Dark Souls clone or anything. It's not a standard hack and slash either. There's also a lot of PvP. How good you do is heavily tied to how much loot you get, which there is some weird drop stuff. I will say I tended to be very lucky, sometimes very unlucky at others. I don't know if they're doing balancing stuff right now or what, but I did have a lot of fun. Forsaken World Gods and Demons is out on iOS and Android right now. Number 3 is Zombeast, a survival FPS that is of course zombie-oriented. You will find this to be a fairly arcade-driven game, however it does contain some elements that bring it a little bit above and beyond that. It is not an online shooter, this is more about surviving. But it is also mission-based and will continually receive new missions as the game progresses. Honestly, this is just big gun shoot zombies. It's just not much more complex than that, and I'm not complaining. I thought that this was a really enjoyable game. There's enough depth to it that I don't feel like it is just a waste of time, but it also doesn't overcomplicate. I can jump in, jump out. Frankly, it's a fun zombie killing fest. Zombeast is out currently only on Android. Give it a shot. Couple of bonus games for you. Obviously, this is where we talk about the paid games that are worth getting for the month. Number 4, it's Ghosts of War. Ghost of War is a World War II shooter that is in early access. They are still working on developing it, but honestly this is a pretty impressive game. This is basically a multiplayer shooter. You're gonna find that it is not unlike Warzone. Obviously it controls a bit different. It is on a mobile platform, which is definitely going to be something that changes the dynamics. At least it's got 3 maps. They are good maps. And in terms of weapons, classes, etc., you're really not limited. I found myself experimenting with different things and actually having pretty different experiences. There are also planes, tanks, ships. I mean, it really is an expansive mobile online shooter. Now I would not call this a complete game, but in terms of what it is, this is a really promising in-progress game that thankfully they released during the creation of Ghosts of War. Is out on Android now, iOS soon. Number 5 is Stella Arcana. This is a game where you can just tell by looking at it that is some form of RPG. It's actually another mobile MMO, which nothing against. I'm not trying to tell you shouldn't play that type of game, and this is a very competent version of it, but just as a forewarning, I wouldn't say that this brings anything new to the genre. It's just probably the best one we've seen this month. It's auto path, it's auto battle. You know what you're getting. However, it is a pretty good version of it. I like the art style. It is very active. There's a lot of people playing it and you have more than battle stuff going on. You can also train pets, you can decorate your house, do all that type of stuff. There's more than enough to do. However, if you're tired of this kind of game, it's not going to be something new for you. That said, if you're looking for a new one, this is probably the best place to look this month. Stella Arcana is out on iOS and Android right now. Number 6 is Death Part 2. This is exactly what it sounds like when you read the full title, which includes the word scary clown survival horror game, which yes sounds very simplistic. But no, is not dumb, it's actually very oriented towards different puzzles exploration. And has you dealing with various different locations like the streets, the zoo, or a military base. I mean, in some ways it even bears some resemblance to Silent Hill, however it's more oriented towards a single enemy, and that is a clown that looks like Pennywise here, tasked with saving your sister. Honestly, I thought this is a very good version of what it is. It ties things together in a slightly more interesting way than a lot of. Honestly, I think puzzle games would probably be what I actually classify this as. It ties together a horror package with that type of gameplay, and I really thought it was an intriguing title that I spent a pretty fair amount of time on. Death Part 2 is out on iOS and Android. Number 7 is Princess Connect Redive. Now this is a really popular battler that garnered a ton of success in China, and Crunchyroll Games decided to collaborate with them and make Redive. I do not know the origin of the name Redive. I know that Princess Connect is a pretty darn good RPG, though it's got a story that is told primarily through really well-made animation, but it's also got a nice in-depth battle system that feels very action-packed. It progresses, it moves forward, it brings something different to the table. Although I wouldn't call it unfamiliar. If you played a turn-based RPG, you know what you're getting here. Although it isn't actually turn-based, it's real-time, you will find that it is not foreign in any way for people who play turn-based, though Princess Connect Redive is out on iOS and Android right now. Number 8, it's Rysen Dawn. Now the name itself is irrelevant, you play as a character named Rysen. He's a live streamer and he streams Parker, which is not that typical. You're not playing this game because it's relatable, you're playing it because it's actually pretty darn good, despite that it has an utterly silly concept. It's a lot like Tony Hawk, except for obviously you've got a more mobile-oriented control scheme and you're playing to a kind of pretend audience. It's not perfect, but it's actually extremely entertaining and I had a hell of a time with it. Rysen Dawn is out on Android now and will be out on iOS soon. Number 9 is Evil Nun 2. Now I had not played Evil Nun 1, so I didn't really know what to expect, to be completely honest with you. It's kind of a silly horror game. Now that's not to say it won't scare you, it will. Some of the scares are a little cheap jump scary, like some of them are a little bit more nuanced, but this is a pretty tough game. Actually, if you're familiar with Hello Neighbor, I think you'll be familiar with the general gameplay mechanics. However, the scenario does lend itself to a lot of interesting dynamics that I think bear out a unique experience. Evil Nun 2 is out on iOS and Android right now. Number 10 is Ronin: The Last Samurai, which is a very unique looking game. It's a game that takes cel-shaded graphics, puts it on very sparse but very aesthetically pleasing backgrounds, and has you fighting against these enemies that are varying in type. Obviously the game calls it ink and wash painting style. I think that's fairly accurate. It's not the most detailed thing you're ever gonna see, but it really I felt that it was a fun style. Gameplay isn't explosively different from any hack and slash you've ever seen. However, it handles blocking, attacking controls I would say above average. Really, it's just kind of the atmosphere and the fact that this is a really well-made game that I like. It particularly kind of feels like a Souls-like with a totally different perspective. Ronin: The Last Samurai is out on iOS and Android right now. So now time to sign out. Thanks for your watching.